We are in a world where everyone is looking for speedy answers, quick outcomes, and immediate convenience. People scroll aimlessly, distracted by distraction, waiting for that secret shortcut that will simplify everything. But the truth is inconvenient. The truth is that nothing great ever came from the way of convenience. Greatness is rooted in a secret habit, something so easy yet so strong, that it redesigns the way your mind perceives reality. The Stoics understood this habit, they employed it every day, and it is the same reason why they marched through storms while everyone else broke under stress. The secret Stoic habit I am referring to is not flashy. It is not one you can boast about on social media. It is not something that people are going to applaud you for initially. But if you stick with it, if you accept it, you will find that your mind will never look at the world in the same way ever again. Take me back to the streets of Rome, where the most influential man in the empire, Marcus Aurelius, walked quietly among regular people. All of his money, all of his power, all of his authority, and he lived with self-control. He dressed plainly. He ate plain food. He chose discomfort on purpose in a life that might have been one of excess. Why? Because he understood the secret habit that transforms the mind forever, voluntary discomfort. The skill of voluntarily doing what is difficult when you do not have to. The skill of applying discipline while convenience is readily accessible. Marcus Aurelius knew that if you let convenience dictate to you, your mind weakens. But if you train yourself to accept inconvenience, your mind is unbreakable. Now stop for a moment and reflect on your own life. How many times do you grab convenience without even knowing it? When you are tired, you grab the phone. When you are unhappy, you anesthetize yourself in distractions. When you are bored, you seek paltry entertainment. Every single time, you take the easy route. And every single time, your mind acquires weakness. The secret Stoic habit is the reverse of this process. It is the willful effort to embrace difficulty. The effort of making life unnecessarily harder so that when actual storms arrive, you are ready. Seneca also used this habit. In his letters, he wrote about sleeping on the floor, dressing in coarse clothes, and eating coarse bread only. Even though he had the best luxuries available in Rome, he instructed, "Cut out a certain number of days on which you shall be satisfied with the barest and cheapest of food and garments, and coarse and rough, and say to yourself, 'Is this the state that I dreaded?'" What was he doing? He was rewiring his brain. He was conditioning himself that comfort is not a requirement. It is a liability. He was convincing himself that he could exist and even flourish without opulence. That is the secret Stoic routine that revolutionizes the mind once and for all. Consider this profoundly. The moment you exercise deliberate discomfort, you are shattering chains of dependency. You are informing your mind, "I don't need comfort to live. I don't need pleasure to be alive. I don't need approval to be worthwhile." And when your mind gets this, nothing external to you has any control over you any longer. This is why the Stoics were so unbreakable. This is why they were able to survive exile, loss, suffering, and even death without shattering. Now consider your surroundings. Modern society is designed to keep you comfortable. The mattress is plush, the food is convenient, the entertainment is endless. But here is the catch. The more comfort you indulge in, the weaker you get, the less you can handle life when things go against you. One little rejection and you are crushed. One failure and you give up. One word and you lose your temper. Comfort has conditioned you to be weak. The Stoics conditioned themselves otherwise, and they accomplished it by this one secret habit. Picture this. You wake up tomorrow and consciously take away something that comforts you. You take a cold shower instead of a warm one. You eat plain, simple meals instead of something decadent. You walk instead of drive. You sit in quiet instead of reaching for your phone. Your body initially pushes back. Your mind yells for comfort. But if you hold on to the discomfort, something amazing occurs. You understand you can live without it. And then, gradually, you begin to notice that you are tougher than you believed, that your mind is not weak, that your power does not reside in the world, allowing you everything you desire. That is where the rewiring starts. That is where you move into the concealed strength, the Stoics found thousands of years ago. Epictetus was born into slavery and was familiar with discomfort. Yet, rather than fleeing it, he utilized it for training. Difficulties show men what they are, he said. He accepted hardship as a mentor, not a penalty. That is the gist of the secret Stoic practice. It is not about evading comfort for good. It is about conditioning your mind so that comfort no longer masters you. It is about feeling that you can say, I can live with it, and I can live without it. That kind of freedom is invaluable. That freedom renders you untouchable. Ask yourself, when did you ever take the harder way on purpose? When did you ever enter into distress willingly? If rarely or never is your answer, then comfort is killing you silently. It is sapping your vitality in secret. But the Stoic practice is still available, waiting for you. All you need is the courage to start. Most people these days think that strength is developed in the gym, in accomplishments, in displaying triumph to the rest of the world. But the Stoics understood that true strength starts in the silence, when no one's observing. It starts when you refuse to take the easy way, when you embrace the unpleasantness not because you have to, but because you want to. This is the unseen law of expansion, the habit that gradually and inevitably creates a mind that no one can destroy. The tragedy is that the vast majority of people will never see this happen because they are slaves to comfort without realizing it. Consider how your typical day goes. The alarm blares and the first battle is already lost. You press snooze. You opt for comfort over self-discipline later on. When confronted with a challenge at the workplace or in school, you put things off scrolling for dopamine, rather than concentrating comfort over growth again. These little choices appear innocuous, but every single one of them molds your mind. Every one of them instructs your brain that escape is more convenient than endurance, that feebleness is good enough, that comfort is always the solution. But life doesn't always provide comfort, does it? What do you do when you are rejected, betrayed, or broken? Your mind breaks, because it never practiced the hidden habit of everyday life. The Stoics practiced differently. They treated everyday choice as an opportunity to practice the hidden habit. Marcus Aurelius dictated to himself, "If it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining." He wasn't writing for other people. He was reminding his own mind that perseverance is a decision, that toughness is constructed in each moment you defy the lure of convenience. This is why he was able to govern an empire in wars, plagues, and betrayals without losing his mind. He conditioned his mind with each day's voluntary hardship. He practiced adversity so that adversity never mastered him. Contemporary psychology today attests to the fact that Stoics understood it hundreds of years ago. When you subject yourself to discomfort on a voluntary basis, your brain remaps. Neural connections get more solid, your stress tolerance increases. You develop resilience not through reading about it, not by desiring it, but through living it. The Stoics lacked neuroscience, but they possessed wisdom, and they demonstrated through their existence that the practice works. Imagine this: Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in the world, on the floor of his villa with a coarse blanket to keep him warm. His servants might have stared at him in bewilderment. Why would an affluent philosopher descend to these levels? Seneca knew the truth. If you never know hardship, hardship will ruin you. But practice not having it, and you find you don't need much. And that is freedom. The mind is transformed once it knows it does not rely on luxury, approval, or easelets. Make it personal to you. Picture fasting for a day when you don't need to. Your body is weak. Your brain aches for food, but in that discomfort, you learn a lesson. Hunger is not the end of you. Imagine opting for silence rather than filling every gap with noise. In the beginning, the silence seems intolerable, but after that, you realize that your thoughts are not as scary as you thought. Imagine sleeping on the floor for one night. Your back hurts. You miss the comfort of your mattress, but in the morning you find yourself alive and you are stronger. These are not punishments. These are practices. Each one rewires your brain, removes weakness, and creates strength. This is the secret Stoic habit. Epictetus, who spent his early life as a slave, said once, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." He did not have to describe to people what he thought, because his existence demonstrated it. He had so little, but he was rich in courage. He experienced pain, but he was liberated in his mind. Why? Because he did what others didn't. He leaned into pain, and through that, he became immovable. Now consider how much that is different from our culture today. We want effort, less results. We want happiness, at the expense of sacrifice. And we are more anxious, more depressed, and more fragile than ever before. The hidden habit is the solution to this fragility. But it demands a radical choice to cease to let comfort rule your life, to cease to avoid difficulty, to accept discomfort as a teacher. The Stoics didn't wait for life to crush them before they learned to be resilient. They crushed themselves on purpose in small ways, so that when life came along and crushed them, they were ready. They understood that if you wait until the storm hits to build your hut, it will pass before you are ready. You need to prepare ahead of time. And the only way you can prepare is by practice, by daily discomfort. Imagine a soldier going into battle without ever training. He would collapse at the first sign of resistance. That's how most people live their lives. They go into the battles of life, loss, rejection, failure, without training their mind. But the Stoics trained every single day. They didn't need a battlefield to become warriors. Their battlefield was life itself. Their weapon was discipline. Their hidden habit was voluntary discomfort. This is why Marcus Aurelius might be betrayed by his dearest friends and still not lose his peace. This is why Seneca might be exiled and eventually killed with equanimity. This is why Epictetus, maimed and destitute, might walk with more integrity than kings. They weren't waiting for comfort to shield them. They had already erected something much greater, a mind that was free, unbreakable, untouchable. And here is the reality you have to embrace. You cannot escape suffering in life. Comfort is not going to shield you from pain. It will simply make the pain intolerable when it finally arrives. But if you train through discomfort now, you will be prepared. You will persevere, you will emerge, and you will know that the tempests of life were never intended to break you. They were intended to show your strength. The secret Stoic practice is not merely about getting through agony, it is about converting it into strength. Each time you accept what other people shun, your brain transforms. Each time you opt for self-control over convenience, your brain gets razor sharp. Each time you embrace the more challenging route, you prepare yourself to be a person who can't be broken. And when you've known that shift, when you've seen that your mind is no longer built on comfort, you know the truth. This habit does not merely transform you, it liberates you. There is something deep that strikes you about the understanding that comfort doesn't make you stronger, but softer. It steals the acuity of your mind, the bite of your willpower. Consider this. The more you pamper your body with limitless ease, the more it craves. A touch of luxury becomes a requirement. Then another, until you are bound by your own vices. The Stoics realized that comfort is a habit, and habits make you a slave. That is the reason why they exercised this secret habit, to shatter those shackles before they wrapped around their minds. Seneca long ago cautioned, "If you fashion your life according to nature, you will never be poor, if according to men's opinions, never rich." His point was this: when you pursue the conveniences sanctioned by culture, luxury, status, appearance, you'll never have enough. But if you manage to live with less, to pare down excess, you see that there is very little needed to live a good life. This is the lesson that modern society shies away from. But it is the very essence of Stoic development. Ask yourself now, when was the last time you were bored without going to your phone? When was the last time you sat quietly, rather than immersing yourself in noise? When was the last time you let yourself get hungry? Let yourself get tired, let yourself get uncomfortable, without immediately seeking to remove it. Most people can't remember. because we've trained ourselves to never feel discomfort, and in doing so, we've trained ourselves to never feel alive. The secret Stoic habit stops this cycle. By cultivating discomfort of your own choice, you establish a mental distance between you and your desires. You become aware that you are not your hunger, not your moods, not your whims. You are something more, something greater. Epictetus lived this always, he wrote. No man is free who is not master of himself and self. Mastery is not possible if you are a slave to comfort. Take Musonius Rufus, whom people called the Roman Socrates. He was banished several times, divested of rank, and compelled to reside in remote areas far from Rome. But he flourished. He lectured in philosophy even in exile. He did not regard hardship as penalty, but as practice. His secret practice was obvious. He accepted hardship as training rather than utter. Why me? He asked. How can I utilize this? That question is the mark of a Stoic. Now let's bring this into modern terms. Imagine you are working on a difficult project. Your mind gets tired, and the easy thing is to quit, to walk away, to distract yourself. But the hidden habit is to sit with that discomfort and keep going. Every time you do, you are not only completing a task, you are rewiring your brain for toughness or exercise. You might quit when it hurts, but if you lean into the pain, you are learning that your body is not your owner or relationships. Rather than shying away from the hard conversations, you lean into the pain and you become stronger, tougher, truer. These small choices build a mind that is ready for life. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself all the time, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Comfort makes you think that you require everything around you to be gentle, easy, and agreeable. But the Stoic practice turns this expectation on its head. It conditions you to understand that strength lies within you, and it increases when you release the world from the expectation of providing comfort to you. But here is the toughest truth. Others around you will not get this habit. They will observe you opting for discomfort and perceive you as peculiar. They will observe you walking away from luxury and perceive you as silly. They will observe you being disciplined when they are being indulgent and feel threatened by it. But that is part of the training too. To walk the Stoic way is to tread a way few care to tread, and the prize isn't applause, but liberty. Consider, an individual who is unable to bear fasting is a slave to food. An individual who is unable to bear silence is a slave to sound. An individual who is unable to bear rejection is a slave to approval. But the Stoic who exercises the unobtrusive habit is free. They might love food, but they don't require it. They might love noise, but they can survive without it. They might love approval, but they are not devastated by rejection. This is the change that comfort steals from you. This is the change the secret Stoic habit restores. Epictetus wrote, "Freedom is the only rightful purpose of life. It is gained by ignoring things which are not within our power." Comfort is not within your power. For the world will not always provide it for you. But discipline is within your power. For you can decide to habituate yourself to discomfort at any time, and that is freedom. Now, take a step back and think. If you took away all your comforts, who would you be? Without your bed, your phone, your habits, your distractions, what of you would be left? That is the question the Stoics asked themselves each day, and the response was this: what is left is the one thing that actually matters. Your character, your discipline, your mind. Comfort conceals these realities from you. Discomfort reveals them. The secret Stoic habit is not showy. It won't popularize you, but it will toughen you in a way that comfort never will. It will create in you a serenity, a strength, a toughness that others will notice but never comprehend. They will label it strength, wisdom, or luck, but you will know the truth. It was constructed in silence, in small gestures of discomfort. in the daily decision to exercise your mind when others squandered theirs. Undefined, so the question is no longer, why should I practice discomfort? The real question is, how much longer can I afford not to? There is a reason most people never discover their true strength. It is because they never give themselves the chance to be tested. They spend their lives chasing the easiest road, hoping to avoid pain, hoping to avoid difficulty. But the Stoics flipped this idea on its head. They believed that only through hardship do you uncover what you're made of. And if life doesn't give you enough adversity, then you have to manufacture it yourself. That is the key. That is the secret habit. Consider the fire. If you never feed it wood, the flame extinguishes. Strength is the same. If you never challenge yourself, your inner flame dwindles. Comfort starves the flame. Discomfort nourishes it. This is the reason why the Stoics searched for means to practice hardship even during times of peace. They did not do this to punish themselves. They did it so that they can remain alive in the fullest sense of the word. They did it so that they can maintain their inner fire. Seneca long ago put it this way: a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. That is a more than apt quote. It is a caution. Take away all the friction in your life, and you are still not polished. You are still dull, brittle, not ready. But when you embrace friction, when you do the secret habit, you cut yourself sharp. You are a person who glows in the dark because the dark doesn't scare you. Consider Marcus Aurelius. He didn't merely talk about perseverance. He practiced it. His life was rife with wars, epidemics, and treasons. He buried children, lost friends, endured continuous ordeals, and in his meditations, there is no bitterness. There is no broken man by suffering. There is a man reminding himself on a daily basis that life is struggle, and struggle leads to greatness. Why? Because he had prepared for it many years ago. His two-day sacrifices, his habitual practice of suffering, conditioned his mind to be calm, regardless of which tempest engulfed him. Now contrast that with our contemporary lifestyle. A minor setback, a slow internet, a late shipment, an uncomfortable seat, and we're upset. We grumble, we rant, we feel robbed. What does that say? It exposes how vulnerable we have become. It exposes that not only has comfort loosened our bodies, but it has loosened our minds as well. And if we continue in this condition, then what happens when actual storms come? What happens when loss, failure, or tragedy comes knocking on the door? Most will break, but the Stoic, conditioned by discomfort, will survive. This is why Epictetus instructed his students, difficulties are things that show a man what he is. He was not idealizing suffering. He was instructing that adversity is the mirror of the soul. Without it, you never really get to see yourself. But with it, you find strength you didn't know you had. This is the change the secret habit provides. It reveals to you who you are, by removing who you think you are. Think of it like this. You are hiking up an incline, weight on your back. Each step is agony. Your body cries out for you to stop, and yet you press on, and then you hit the summit. At that instant, you don't merely glimpse the view, you glimpse yourself. You see the you who didn't give up, who didn't walk away, who pushed through. That you was always there, buried under blankets of ease. The Stoic practice is the secret to accessing it. It does not matter whether your life currently is cozy or crazy. The rule applies: if you desire to build, you will need to practice discomfort. You will need to voluntarily put yourself in positions where you are challenged. And every time you pass the test, your mind shifts a little bit more. Every time, you move further from weakness and further toward strength. But here is what most people overlook. The hidden habit is not simply about physical discomfort. It is also about emotional discomfort. It is about dealing with conversations you wish you could avoid, accepting truths you don't want to confront, releasing attachments that no longer benefit you. These are some of the most difficult discomforts of all, and yet these are the very ones that liberate you most. Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." Being brave is simply the choice to endure discomfort in the name of truth. Consider how frequently people won't say what should be said because it may offend someone. Consider how frequently people hold on to habits or relationships that kill them because change is awkward. Consider how frequently individuals flee from their very own minds because silence is so unbearable. The secret Stoic practice is the solution to all of this. In selecting discomfort, you are selecting honesty. You are selecting expansion. You are selecting to truly live, not half asleep. Let's now picture an alternative form of training. No fasting, no floor sleeping, but quietly sitting with your thoughts. At first, it is torture. The mind is racing, fears arise, regrets are echoing. But the longer you sit, the more you become aware that you are not your thoughts. You are the witness. That awareness shifts everything. You no longer flee from your mind, and you start to command it. This is voluntary discomfort at its finest. And this is exactly what the Stoics did. Marcus Aurelius would wake up early and write to himself in quietness. Not for the world, not for the applause of men, but to struggle with his own thoughts. That was his awkwardness. That was his secret vice. And that gave him depth when leading the greatest empire the world had ever seen. If he could manage it amidst turmoil, then what is our excuse? The habit of concealment is not dependent on any special resources. It doesn't need money, class, or ability. It simply needs a choice to stop fleeing pain and begin to use it as fuel. All the cold showers, all the luxuries foregone, all the quiet times, all the difficult decisions, these are burdens you bear for the mind. And, like any muscle, the more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. So ask yourself, what discomfort will you embark on today? Not tomorrow. Not someday. Today, because comfort is not waiting. It is eating you away quietly, making you softer every day. The only way to resist is to do something now, to step into the secret Stoic habit, and to keep stepping into it until it molds you into someone beyond your old self. There is a point at which the secret habit is no longer secret. When it has infiltrated all aspects of your life, changing the way you view the world. Initially, it feels uncomfortable. You ask yourself why others break down under minor annoyances while you keep your ground. You see how people pursue pleasures in vain, but remain unfulfilled. Yet you delight in the ordinary. That is when you know the truth. You no longer live like everyone else. You live like a Stoic. And this does not make you cold or unfunny. No, it is just the opposite. By being comfortable with discomfort, you have unlocked greater joy. Joy that won't disappear when the electricity goes out, when the internet fails, or when life doesn't happen as anticipated. It is the joy of resistance. The joy of being aware that no external force can deprive you of peace from within. Epictetus has said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." The secret Stoic practice is the way to such freedom. For when you become master of discomfort, you become master of yourself. You no longer respond mechanically to every annoyance. You no longer plead with life to be smooth. You no longer dread the storms. You bear your own peace within you. And that peace cannot be shattered. But let's be specific. This change doesn't occur overnight. Similar to weightlifting, the mind becomes strong repetition by repetition. One cold shower, one fast day, one night on the floor, one uncomfortable conversation, one moment's silence. Small things, done frequently, build an unstoppable mind. This is the template the Stoics have left for us. A template in plain sight. Imagine the alternative. A life of perpetual indulgence. A life in which the body becomes feeble and the mind weak. A life in which you freak out at every obstacle, in which you are a slave to desires, in which you can't sit in quiet contemplation with your own thoughts. That is not liberty. That is a prison masquerading as opulence. And unfortunately, it is the prison that most people are living in today. The Stoics would glance upon our world and shake their heads. They would behold us swimming in plenty but starving for sense. They would observe us afraid of boredom, afraid of pain, afraid of anything that is real, and they would whisper, "No wonder you suffer, for comfort is not the cure. It is the sickness. The hidden habit is the remedy." And here is the paradox. The more discomfort you get used to, the less discomfort masters you. The more you confront what makes you afraid, the less fear has dominion. The more you release comfort, the freer you become. This is how the Stoics were not shattered by adversity. They had already practiced it. Death, loss, poverty, suffering. They had confronted those in imagination, and often in their everyday exercises. So when the real thing came, they stood unshaken. Seneca once instructed, "Set aside a number of days during which you will be satisfied with the most frugal and inexpensive diet, with coarse and rough clothing, repeating to yourself continuously, 'Is this the state I dreaded?' That is the secret habit. It is practice. It is practice for life's knocks, so that when they come, you don't fall apart. Rather, you smile and say, 'I was prepared.' Now picture what it would be like to live like that. Picture yourself training your mind to stay sane when everyone else goes crazy. Picture yourself gaining strength from simplicity, comfort from discomfort, and clarity in stillness. How would your life change? How much stronger, freer, and happier would you be? That is what the secret habit promises. And it is available to you if you will start. But will you start? Most will not. Most will listen to these words and say, "Interesting." Then go back to their comfortable habits. They will wait for that perfect moment to begin. They will remind themselves they are too busy, too weary, too preoccupied. And meanwhile, comfort will continue its quiet destruction. Don't let that happen to you. The Stoics didn't wait for ideal situations. They made them. They cultivated the practice in tiny increments. Day by day, you can too. Miss one meal, take one cold shower, walk rather than drive. Sleep on the floor without a pillow. Sit in silence for 10 minutes. These are not acts of heroism. They are minimalist. But minimalist doesn't equal minimal. Minimal is where the magic starts. And then, something changes. You start to look at challenges not as obstacles, but as chances to develop. You start to realize what Marcus Aurelius meant when he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Every challenge becomes fuel. Every hardship is a lesson. Every discomfort is freedom." That is the Stoic life. Not a life of no pain, but a life of no fear. Not a life of no struggle, but a life with struggle that is worth it. Not a life of unending luxury, but a life of unbending fortitude. And that is what the secret habit can provide. And as you walk away from these words, keep this in mind. Comfort is not your ally. It speaks softly of protection, but serves weakness. It speaks of happiness, but leaves you hollow. The secret Stoic habit is the cure. It is how to be who you were meant to be. Not broken, but solid. Not bound, but liberated.